every now and then a film comes along that just reminds me why I love what I love.
What was your favorite part?
And today we have The Fabelmans. It is the newest film by director Steven Spielberg. Household name. You gotta know this guy. If not, I mean, again, a quick Google search. I mean, he's done many big classic films, classic Hollywood blockbusters, and he's still making films to this day. It's more or less a autobiography, kind of, but done in the best and most classic, like, cinematic way of, oh, these are characters that I'm kind of basing on me and my life story, translated to a dramatic film. So it's very fitting, but clearly it's his life being used for inspiration here. So star power, the main three that I wanted to kind of give a shout out to are the core family. The film centers around the Fabelmans, a fictional family that is, from what I understand, based on Spielberg's own upbringing. We have Gabriel LaBelle, who is our main protagonist, the son, Sammy here. We have Michelle Williams as the mother. I mean, if you don't know, again, I figure at least two of these are kind of becoming household Hollywood names, or have been classics for a while. And then you have Paul Dano, who I've been singing his praises for years, and I think in more recent years he's finally getting more acclaim and more traction, but he's been around for a minute, just if you haven't noticed. Also worth mentioning, I like seeing people like Seth Rogen is in this film, and although he provides some mild comedic relief here and there, he's mostly in it as it's a serious role for him, and I love seeing actors that are traditionally comedians being utilized for more dramatic or serious roles, and showing that they have versatility and there's more than just their comedy star powers. I feel like he does actually provide that for this film as well. The Fabelmans. I'm not gonna lie, I saw the trailer for this film and I wasn't excited. I thought, oh, well, this will be a cool little, oh, it's a kid who becomes enamored with cinema, and then he's trying to make them as he grows up, but one of his parents is supportive, and the other one is trying to convince him to get on a more stable career path, something more beneficial for society. I saw the trailer and I figured, oh, I have this movie figured out. It'll be good, I'm sure, but I'm not too crazy about it. And I gotta say, this film actually blew me away with how much I really enjoyed this. I'm pretty sure I just about loved this film. This film, as I said at the beginning, this film reminded me of why I love cinema and film so much. This is almost going to be less of a review and more me just waxing philosophical about the nature of cinema. The first note I made about this film is I found the first act to be magical. I want to give a shout out because he's not going to be talked about as much as Gabriel, because you have the first act is you have him as a kid, and then as the acts progress, he grows up more and more into a young man in high school. And then Mateo Zoyan, who has been in virtually nothing. This might be his first big role, but he plays the little kid. The look in his eyes literally and figuratively light up when he discovers cinema and what that means to him, and the power of what something on screen can do to people. Just watching this little kid discover that, become obsessed and enamored with it, was just, it took me back. It took me back to my journey as a kid. It was really cool seeing this journey play out, because I had a very similar one as I was growing up, and that's how I've fallen in love with all these worlds and just the world of movies and the magic therein. And if you don't like any of this type of stuff, I completely understand. It's the same thing. I imagine if somebody goes and watches a sports film and they see the power of football and how it's these athletes that dedicate their lives to, I get it. I don't sympathize or empathize or really understand a lot of that, but this is, I guess, my American football movie or what have you, or some big war movie. This is my Saving Private Ryan. It's this kid discovering cinema, and then the power of what cinema can do, of putting something on the screen and how you film it, and how the tricks that you do, and what the power that film has and transports you to these worlds, but also can make somebody who's just a normal guy seem larger than life, and how it can evoke pathos and ethos from people, which is what I discover I like doing. I grew up watching film and television and playing these games and media and all of this, and even watching, Let's Players online. It's those reactions that I thrive off of. It's why I make content. I make content partially because I enjoy making it, but also because I like to evoke emotion from people. And this kid was lucky. This kid had what I didn't. Like, we had the same passion growing up, but this kid somehow had access to, he had a whole family to work with, a bunch of friends and a bunch of people that he could get together with and make all this shit. Every time that I wanted to make stuff when I was a kid, if I ever got it off the ground, it was a ragtag, really shitty endeavor. But man, do I wish that I had like friends like he had back in the day that I could have gotten together with and started my journey, but wasn't so lucky, which is why I'm here making the solo content that I make, because who else do I have? Plus, it even highlights the struggle later on in the film of actually trying to find that balance. Do you go full all in for the broke artist bit, or do you try to get yourself a stable job and career path and a 9-to-5 to support yourself and try to pursue your arts on the side, which is kind of the room in the box that I'm stuck in. So it's like, yeah, I 100% empathize with his journey and his struggle. Not to mention, if we're talking about all the pros to this film actually had a surprisingly intense family drama within it, because there's the drama happening in Sammy Fabelman's family while he's also trying to pursue his passion and his arts. And it's actually a really good drama. Is actually a very engaging narrative and story there. The dynamic between the mother and the father and their relationship, and the outside forces that are kind of throwing a bit of a triangle into that. And as Sammy grows up, obviously there's high school, because high school's got a high school, so he has his own issues growing up, and again, find that balance. I don't often say this for films, especially ones that are, I think this was 2.5 hours, damn near 2 hours 40 something minutes, but this film has fantastic pacing. There was maybe one small moment in the film during one scene where I thought the pacing started to suffer a tiny bit, but I can easily forgive that for the great pacing. It doesn't move too quick, it doesn't move too slow, it moves just fast enough to stay engaging, stay interesting. All scenes are important, all scenes have a purpose. So from a structural perspective, Spielberg is yet still a master of his craft. This film goes, and it goes well and thoroughly and effectively. A+ performances, in case I didn't already make that clear. Everybody in the family, everybody in the film gives killer performances, especially the mother-son dynamic in this film. They have some of the more intense emotional scenes, and man, they hit. They really emotional, well-performed scene. And then of course, old Paul Dano over here. His character is very level-headed, but there's a couple moments where he kind of doesn't explode, but he definitely rises to the emotional occasion that's being presented in whatever environment he's in. And there's always a little bit of, now I just kind of see a little bit of Riddler left in him, a little bit of the priest from There Will Be Blood, but there's always that fervor and the passion that lies just below the surface, but he can still play that calm, cool, collected character on top. And I really like how the character of Sammy, he's emotionally stunted a little bit in that he doesn't always communicate right away his feelings. He's kind of quiet and reserved, but what he's feeling, he's able to pour into his work in the films that he makes, and he's able to get his emotions across through film. Even between him and his mom, whenever there's some strife going on between the two of them, she's just like, talk to me, tell me what's going on. And instead of talking to her directly, he instead shows her this little film that he made to get his emotions across, and it works perfectly, and we get it and she gets it. And it's just, again, the power of film and cinema, and it never seemed hokey, it never seemed cheesy or overzealous. It was all just, that was this kid's craft, this kid's passion. It's his medium for both emotional communication, but also just his own inner fulfillment, just the passion and desire that he has. Literally, the only possible complaint I could have for this film is that when it comes to the mother and father, they each have a quote-unquote their own respective resolutions. I would have liked a bit more on the mother and father. I brought this up in films of similar dramatic nature before, where I feel like our main character has his full story arc, his full character arc. He has, for the film's sake, his own narrative closure. Spielberg has a habit of doing that in his films, where the main character gets all the love, and the side protagonists that are still primary, they get a good amount of love, but I just would have liked to have seen a little bit more. But for the sake of the film, it still works, because the film's not about, each and every single member of the family. It's about Sammy Fabelman, about his journey, and the other characters are kind of a foil for him and his narrative journey, and they're just kind of, I don't want to say they're there to service the narrative and service Sammy's plot, but I mean, all the supplementary characters play their part, and this is about Sammy and his journey. So I'm still going to mention it as a small complaint on my end, but I can forgive it, But anyway, I got to stop myself, because I could just stand here and talk about how much I loved aspects of this film forever. Fabelmans was much, much better than I thought it was going to be. Old Doubting Thomas over here, I thought, oh, Spielberg and his big old blockbuster films, surely this won't be as intense or as emotionally provocative as the critics say, but how wrong I was. I loved this film, mainly because I connected and it resonated with me so much. It very nearly has reinvigorated my passion, which I could feel slowly starting to fade as my nihilism sets in on a day-to-day basis. But this film reinvigorates that passion, reminds me of the types of things that I love in life, cinema being one of them, and just kind of relights, just kind of rekindles that flame there. And just, I appreciate Spielberg making this, because for me, and I'm sure a lot of other people, it did a big justice for me. I just loved seeing this kind of journey and story on screen, and I'm saying the same things over and over again. I just really appreciated it. For those reasons, and probably many more, I would definitely give Fabelmans a very, very, very high 4 out of 5. A very high 4 out of 5. It's a near perfect film. I think it's one of my favorites of this year. We'll see. It's getting close to the end of the year, so I got the probably the top 10 list coming out pretty soon. That'll probably hit 1st of January if I can get off my ass and time it right. But Fabelmans, hard recommend if you like anything that I just mentioned. If you like a good family drama, if you love cinema, if you have a good appreciation for cinema, any of that kind of stuff, it's definitely one of Spielberg's best in my opinions, although it's kind of hard to beat some of his classics admittedly. But I really, really loved this, and I think it's a great film. I'd say go check it in theaters if you can. I think it's worth the experience, but if not, no worries, just worth a watch at some point in your life. But that's all I gotta say about The Fabelmans. Thank you guys and gals so much for watching, and stay tuned for the next review that I do. And goodbye, travelers.